If Madonna were to write her song today, she would rather go, I am a digital girl in a digital world. Digital has completely taken over our lives and, in a big way, our monies. When was the last time you held hard cash in your hand, a paper note, a metal coin, and then there is crypto? Hi, this is NDTV, and I'm your host, Shruti Kohli. Talking of crypto, it has certainly earned itself a reputation. I recently finished reading this book, Crypto Crimes, and I decided to call upon the author, Mitali Mukherjee, to clear out some fuzz surrounding cryptos. So here she is. Hi, Mitali. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I just finished reading your book, and one thing that I found, the gap that I saw was crypto is very easy, and it's digital and it's easy to use, as far as I could understand. Yet there is a roadblock somewhere, a block where people are not able to accept it properly, because the first thing when somebody says crypto, the first thing that comes to your mind is all the Ponzi schemes and frauds and all the wrong that is going on with the financial world. Why is it such a hassle to have some policy around it and some regulatory system around crypto? Because it's just digital currency. So where is the gap? What is the problem?
I think a couple of sort of broad markers may be useful for people listening and watching the conversation, Shruti, which is the problem with crypto, or at least the context for crypto, is the fact that what is seen as its biggest strength is also its biggest enemy. So the fact that this is, hugely independent, it is democratizing, as people who support crypto say, it is democratizing the access to finance, the ability to, have transactions. It's surely a strength, but I think it's works to its disadvantage in the sense that it also functions outside of the world of regulation, universally lacks any significant, cogent, across the board policy. Over the years, there has been sort of documented evidence of the number of crimes that we're seeing around crypto. But I think the moot point also is, you know, and this was my observation from the book and interviews and conversations, where there is possibility of greed and money, you will find a way, so it's not sort of unique to crypto. There were Ponzi scams in the stock market, they still exist. There are Ponzi scams in lending schemes, they still exist. I think crypto's beauty is the ease with which some of these scams could be constructed.
Yeah, and that's what made me feel. I mean, why it is so complicated is also the fact that at on one side we have all this, the wrong things that are connected with it, and the wrong perceptions maybe, or the wrong whatever wrong is happening around it. But then there are also people, and they are very ordinary people from small towns, and people, social influencers. They are using crypto as if it was just another thing. So how does this in what direction are we going when it comes to crypto?
The direction is actually, well, on balance, I would say it's up. Even though many things have happened to change that course, I think the marker for India, honestly, Shruti, is 2020 and COVID. That was a period of time, as my research threw up, where a lot of young people were sitting at home. Some had unfortunately lost their jobs. Others did have that extra time on hand, and it sort of emerged as this really elegant answer to very quick money making opportunities. So you had a lot of the younger population staying up all night. Now, the other magic of crypto is that it's on, it's 24/7. It trades for every hour of the day, every day of the year, which meant that you could log on and trade at any point in time. I think that really drew a lot of young people into it. I was also surprised to see the level of popularity it had, as you said, in sort of non-metro cities, in B cities, where people had this general sense of how to navigate it. Not all of them were financially savvy, not all of them were were previously investors in things like the stock market or other financial assets, but this they got. So I think that really drew a lot of young people in. It saw a big smash last year after FTX, which is, one of the biggest global blow-ups for crypto, but it's coming back. And I was just looking at trends before our chat. There is an increasing number of female investors in crypto, which means that one in every five crypto investors is a woman. It is sort of beginning to increase again in terms of the transactions that you're seeing. But I think what has changed between then and now, from what you said, about the Indian context, is the really hard tax burden that's come in. So people have basically chosen to move to exchanges abroad rather than trade on exchanges registered in India. But there's still a lot of interest.
Great. So there's nothing to fear, I think, as such for people who would want to maybe get into it, because there are these stories that are there in your book. First of all, like I would love to hear some of the stories here. If you can just tell us some of the stories in brief. What I understand is this girl, this social influencer, she sees no fear. In fact, she has been trading in crypto like since she was 21 years old. So
Yeah.
it's quite, I must say, encouraging, or
Um,
it's good to see.
you know the adage about where fools rush in, and other sort of fear to tread. So I would certainly sort of say with many underlines, there is reason to be cautious. First of all, I think it's a lack of financial literacy, Shruti. People don't understand the space, but they understand that, here's a way to make money quickly. Let's rush in. So I think financial literacy is certainly lacking. Regulation has not helped, in the sense that it's put in burdens on the exit point. When you take your money out, this is the tax you have to pay. But what's happening with the process before that, I don't think enough thought has been put into it. And it has been put to misuse. I think in India it has been put to misuse in terms of lending schemes. It has been put to misuse by people who are smarter and understand that this is a way to do it. Let me sort of quickly do three stories which will give you a flavor of crypto. One is the person you're referring to, which is Sapna, who is a crypto influencer. I mean, I loved her for really smashing it out of the park in terms of gender stereotypes, right? Like she was there.
Was.
She was there to be counted. She was on YouTube. She was talking about crypto. She got a lot of flack at the start, saying, what does a woman know? And then she's built an identity for herself out of it. So kudos to her. The second one where it can go really wrong is from Bangalore, a man called Shriki, also called Sri Krishna, which was one of the biggest documented stories, where it was this almost, when you a child prodigy around technology, where he was so bright and you could see that from the start, but kind of drifted off into a world of drugs and extortion, and just generally lost his way, it seems, and then turned to crypto and hacking as a way to finance the lifestyle that he had gotten used to. So, there are ways that this can go really wrong. And then there's somewhere in between where people understand it, but they also understand this can't be the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So, a young producer in Rajasthan who I interviewed talked about being an early entrant in crypto. He made money. He bought a sports bike for himself, which is not cheap. But then he said, and I'm going to switch to Hindi just to sort of use his voice authentic way. He said, उसमें वो मज़ा नहीं है. I don't get the same feeling of pride as I do when I work on a project or I shoot on a really important piece. That joy and that thrill is not there in crypto. It's very flat. So
Okay.
it's kind of a tone of how younger people are approaching this. For one,
Yeah.
it's great. For one, it hasn't worked out that
It
well, and
reminds me also of 20 years ago, when mutual funds and equities were making their way into people's lives, ordinary people's lives. And at that time, also, I think they were somewhere the same as cryptos are right now.
yeah.
They were complicated, and people were scared of equities, and they didn't want to get into even mutual funds when it came to equity. So I don't know, that also gives me a kind of ray of hope for cryptos
I
that maybe 20 years later they
Yeah,
will be a part of our lives.
I think two things happen, Shruti. One is sort of Or maybe the most important thing to say is that that visible growth in faith in structures and processes is really what has drawn people into the stock market. So you're absolutely right. We had an era where there were scams, where there were KP stocks, as they were called, Ketan Parekh stocks. You had Harshad Mehta. You had all of that, but then you had through it a process where really strong rail guards were built. And I don't think crypto has that. I was struck by an incident the cybercrime cell head in Mumbai shared with me. So someone came to them with their phone saying, "Dekho mere sare paise nikal. I've lost all my money on my crypto account." When asked for more details, he had no idea where he had put where which coin he had invested in. He had no idea about his account details. Now he was locked out of 1 crore rupees, but he didn't know what he had gotten into in the first place. How does how do law enforcers even start a process of saying you're safe?
Of course. And I think beginning with having a policy and airtight policy around it and regulator around it.
Yeah.
So, coming to the book,
Yes.
how are you planning to promote it and market it? Because that's the biggest question for an author.
Yeah.
So, what is your strategy?
And I have no sort of, elegant answer for you because I have no clue.
Yeah.
I just
All
wrote it.
right.
It's quite interesting. I had a conversation. I was actually having a conversation with a journalist saying, I kya ho raha hai, whatever, we were just catching up, and he told me about this crazy story of a man called Bunty from Uttar Pradesh who made friends with another man and then heard about this whole crypto thing and thought, okay, this is great, this is a good way to make money. So he actually landed up at that other person's house and took out a katta, like a local revolver, put it to his head and said, now you transfer all your money into my account. And this story just blew my mind because it was the peak of finance and tech, which is crypto and blockchain, and the peak of Indian jugaad, which is like, the way I'll get it done. And I just
Yeah.
find whether there was a broader story there. So that's how I dove into it, purely by accident. I know before we started chatting, you were telling me how the book seems, it was easy to read because there were stories. And honestly, as a journalist, that was the only way I could navigate as well. It was so much. And what I didn't want was to sort of approach it only through a research lens or only approach it with a pre-decided notion saying crypto is bad or crypto is great. I just wanted to speak to people who understand this much better than me, are far brighter, and really present all sides of the story. So I did that. Now from there, I don't know how I'll promote it. It's great to have these conversations with people who are interested in it, and I'd love to hear more from people on that are part of this industry. That's, I think, the most important. I'd love to keep the conversation going.
I really want to say that it's also really heartening to see a woman write a book, such a book on crypto.
It's the biggest irony of the financial industry that we have had so many female bankers and female CEOs, and yet the finance industry remains a very clearly a boys' club. It's, you have a point till here, and then please sit down and listen. So yeah, I'm happy as well. I think maybe I felt more confident because I have spent a lot of years sort of writing on finance.
Yeah, great. So thank you so much for your time and for all the important information that we could, get from you today. And wish you all the luck with the book.
Very
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks for your time. Very good chatting with you.